Hey guys, Coach Adam from TeamElitePhysique.com, and today I have a good question from you for another episode of Coach Adam's comment section. And today's question really isn't a question, but it's more so a complaint that I see online a lot. And the question comes down to, is it bad coaching or is it bad athleting? I'm going to use that as a word. And it's a funny one because it goes both ways. And the question or the complaint that I commonly see is about doing 2 hours of cardio by eating less than 1,000 calories, and it's a situational thing, right? Is the coach to blame? Is the athlete to blame? What's the scenario there? So let's go ahead and go into it, because I do think that that's an important thing. Cardio, is going to be one of the things that's probably the most discussed thing in contest prep. Is it better to feed someone more and give them more cardio? Is it better to feed them less and give them almost no cardio? Where's the happy medium in between that? And what is the athlete's responsibilities in this overall metric of cardio versus calorie consumption, right? So the first thing that's most important to discuss is, if you're an athlete and you're bashing a coach that says that had you do 2 hours of cardio and eat 900 calories, first take a step back and look at what was my responsibility in that, right? Were you a jerk in the off season, gain 30 pounds, and then just expect to be smooth and have an easy prep for 16 weeks, right? So let's do some math on that. If you did a 16-week prep and you gained 30 pounds, you're talking about losing roughly 2 pounds a week. You never talk about that part of it. No one's ever going to talk about, I messed up in the off season. My coach gave me 2 hours of cardio and 1,000 calories. They just say, my coach gave me 2 hours of cardio and 1,000 calories. Well, I say, what did you do in the off season to cause that, right? I saw another one recently where someone was like, my coach won't let me have cheat meals. I'm like, well, hold on a second. How much body fat do you need to lose going, into your show? And this girl was in her off season. How much are you up from your last show? Are you up over 20 pounds from your last show? So maybe there's a valid reason why your coach doesn't want you to have cheat meals anymore. Maybe you're not handling it very well. Maybe you're not doing so well with your free meals, and the coach says, hey, have 1,000 calorie free meal, and you're doing, you're going way past that and messing up for the whole weekend, right? Maybe that's the best case scenario. So I thought it was important to take a look at both things today and go into what the reasoning is why someone should ever have to do 2 hours of cardio, which I'm highly against, and why, where the coach becomes the issue and where the athlete becomes the issue, forcing this on them, all right? So first, let's go into the coach being the problem, right? And this does happen a lot. So I'm not giving you coaches a free pass here. This happens way too often, and you guys really do need to stop it, because you're burning girls out of the industry. The girls that leave the industry are always the ones that have these grind preps. My coach gave me 2 hours of cardio. My coach only let me eat tilapia for 16 weeks. My coach used excessive drug use and my hormones were all messed up at the end of this, right? Those coaches, they do need to go. I totally agree. If it's a consistent thing, always their clients, right? And it's every one of them, right? And you see this happen when you can kind of figure it out right when they start a prep, right? If you're a first-time NPC competitor and you're like, I just want to get my feet wet, and then the coach all of a sudden, like, you're not in that bad of shape. Maybe you need to lose 15 pounds to get stage shape, and the coach starts off week 1, 1,200 calorie diet, 45 minutes of cardio, 5 days, 6 days a week in week 1. That's a red flag. You should be careful with that. There's no reason you need to start there unless you have this huge loss that you need to go through, and you're doing like a big show. If you're in your first NPC prep and you're just trying to get your feet wet and you've loved fitness and you're eating, let's say you're going into that prep and you're eating, let's say, 1,800, 2,000 calories like a normal fitness bikini competitor who weighs about 130 pounds or so. You're doing already 20 minutes cardio and the coach says, oh, hey, let's do 45 minutes, give you 1,200 calories, and let's start doing some Anavar. That's a red flag, That's a red flag. You first got to get your feet wet before you got to start considering any of these aggressive preps. Figure out what it is you want in the sport. So if you start your prep that way, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to end your prep feeling miserable. You're going to probably be at 1,000 calories, because if you're starting off at 1,200, where does the coach have to go from there? Where's the room to go from 1,200 and drop? He's just going to go 1,200 and a few weeks later you're going to be at 1,000. Because be one of those sneaky coaches that doesn't include the macros on the diet. He'll only include food. And that's another red flag. You'll see some coaches will just list 3 ounces of tilapia, a cup of asparagus, and no calories, no macros, no anything. And then I talk to these girls, I'm like, well, how many calories are you eating? And they're like, oh, I don't know, he just lists the food. Like, that's a red flag, because that means that coach is trying to get away with maybe giving you 800 calories and hoping that you don't calculate the calories yourself. So a few things that you need to look at. If it's the coach's fault, Did I need to go this aggressive in my prep at all? Did he even ask me what my goal was long term? Did I mention to him what my goal was long term? How much cardio did I start with from where I was? Did he mention PED use? My very first prep, when I wasn't even talking about doing anything seriously, right? There's a lot of factors that go into this. Now, where does it become the athlete's fault? Well, it becomes the athlete's fault if they're kind of a jerk in the off season, right? And let's say this athlete is like, hey, I've done 3 shows, 10 shows, whatever. I'm ready to go to USAs. I'm ready to go to nationals and get my pro card. I'm ready to go to whatever, a pro show, right? And this happens at all levels. Pros do this too. And then that athlete gains, let's say 30 pounds, right? And they're like, oh, USAs are 16 weeks away, 14 weeks away now, and I got to make the cut. Like, I promised myself I'd do this show. I'll do whatever it takes, right? And that's where the problem comes in. I'll do whatever it takes. There's a deadline I need to hit that I didn't prepare for this whole year, and now I have the urgency because I'm behind, right? So we look at that, and that is where it becomes the athlete's fault. Okay, the coach says, hey, this is your starting point. You got to lose 30 pounds. I got whatever, 15 weeks to do it. That's 2 pounds a week. This is not going to be a fun prep. This is not going to be fun for you. And on top of that, you're probably not going to look your best when it comes showtime. So when you come showtime, this is where it really goes south. When it comes showtime and you get a last call out or second to last call out, what do, right? They blame the coach. Those athletes blame the coach. Oh, my coach sucked. He gave me 2 hours of cardio and tilapia, and I could barely stand on stage. I was like faint because of I was so deprived calorie, right? No, hold on. You didn't do your part in the off season. The coach had no choice. You tied his hands, right? I will say to an athlete, let's just not do that show because you're not going to look your best. And if you think you're going to squeeze by USAs or a big level show or even a small level pro show at having to lose 30 pounds in, let's say, 15 weeks and expect to be your best and just win the pro card and win the overall, like, oh, no big deal. When you were kind of a jerk in the offseason and didn't take the sport seriously, like, I got some news for you. That's not how this sport works. Any sport works. That's not how. You imagine Michael Phelps saying, oh, I gained 50 pounds in the, he's a bigger guy, so the weight would be about the same for him. I gained 50 pounds. If you gain 30 pounds as a 120 pound on-stage bikini competitor for a Michael Phelps, it would be about 50 pounds. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's actually the same. It's probably more, actually. It's probably like 55 pounds. And he shows up to practice. He's like, yeah, the Olympics are in 15 weeks. I better start training. Can you imagine that? That would never, ever happen because he takes his sport seriously, right? That's why he's got 100 gold medals, right? He takes the sport seriously. Michael Jordan took the sport seriously. Kobe Bryant, right? They all take it seriously. They don't show up when season starts and say, oh yeah, I guess I got to lose 40 pounds now, right? They're good athletes all year because they want it all year, And that's the thing is, the problem I see in the industry is you get a lot of blaming on people. You get coaches sometimes will blame the athlete, athletes sometimes blame the coaches. The coaches, you need to put your foot down. You got to say, hey, you're messing up in the off season. If you're going to do this prep, it's going to suck and it's your fault and it is what it is. I'll do it, but it's your fault. So, hey, I don't want to hear about it at the end. I say it to them straight up. This is going to be a crappy prep and I don't know if you're going to look your best at the end of it. So maybe we should pick a different show. If you want to go through with it, hey, we'll do it, but you messed up and I'm left holding the pieces here, trying to put together a decent package. I don't think you're going to win this show. I'll say it to them, and it's a hard reality, right? So the question becomes in the off season, where should I be in my off season? What's realistic, Adam? Okay, you hear this thing go around talking about balance, right? Well, balance isn't eating tilapia and 800 calories and doing 2 hours of cardio, but balance also isn't doing that for 16 weeks, looking awesome once a year, and then being a total jerk in the off season, being Little Miss Piggy and eating everything you see, not doing any cardio, half-assing it in the gym, and gaining 30 pounds, and then being like, well, I don't know why my coach won't give me cheat meals. I'll tell you why your coach won't give you cheat meals. You're 30 pounds overweight, and now you're saying that you want to go to the Olympia. Those two things don't connect. That's not balance either, right? So what is balance, right? So let's go into that. I think that is important. And everyone's balance is going to be unique to them. You know, some people need cheat meals. Some of the girls that I coach hate cheat meals. And they're like, whenever you tell me to do a calorie meal, I just increase my rice and my steak and that's it. I just do that for extra that. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll do that then. Some need that cheat meal to feel sane, right? Nothing wrong with that at all. And we'll say, okay, once a week, we're going to do a 800 calories, 1600 calories, whatever, free meal, cheat meal, whatever you want to call it, right? But we give them a limit. We don't just say, hey, go eat whatever you want, because we need to calculate that data. And that keeps them sane, and that gives them balance, right? The rest of the week, their calories are going up, their cardio is coming down after a show, and they're maintaining a target weight above show because they're taking it seriously. Now, if you're just a transformation client and you just want to get to that goal one time and you don't want to take it that seriously, not trying to get to the Olympia, yeah, more balance is going to be allowed, right? You're going to have more freedom, right, in that thing. But if someone's saying, hey, I want to be a professional athlete, remember what we're saying. I want to be a professional athlete, right? That's a big difference. And there's all professional sports. They're hard to get to. Believe me, I've tried. It's freaking hard, right? I played hockey my whole life trying to get to professional sports. Didn't get it, right? I got super far, world level, right? Professionals, it was miles away, right? So when we're talking you getting to a professional sport, why do you think it's going to be easier in bikini? Like, why do you think that that's just, I'm allowed to eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, not work out as hard? There's some people who don't take a single day off for years and years, a decade, trying to go to that professional status. And you think you're going to do it by just messing up in the off season and doing what you have called balance, and then blaming your coach because you gained 30 pounds that he can't get you in the proper shape come showtime? I got a rude awakening for you. That's not what happens in any sports, right? So what's the real target? What do we need to be shooting for? Do I need to reel it back and be honest with myself and say, okay, my efforts don't match my goals. It's not realistic. I need to hear this hard truth. Or is it, that coach I used does suck. He started me there. I'm not going to go to where I want to get to with him. I need to go somewhere else, because the only thing this guy knows is raise cardio, lower calories to get me in shape, and anyone can get you. I got some news for you guys. If you have a coach that all he does is raise your cardio and lowers your calories, and that's all he does, I can promise you could do that by yourself. You don't need any coach. It doesn't take a genius to raise calories, lower cardio, give drugs, right? Anyone can do that. Just do that, watch my videos for posing, and go do a show. Fire that guy, save yourself some money, right? But you got to look at where your fault is in this too. Hopefully you're being good in the off season. Where does that lie? So, okay, now let's look at the scenario. Okay, Adam, I've made my decision. I made my mind. I want to be a good athlete year round. I do want to be the Michael Jordan. I do want to get to the Olympia. I do want to take it seriously. And what I've been doing in the past hasn't gotten me anywhere, and I keep doing it, and I need to face that hard reality that professional sports are hard, right? It's hard to get to that. What do I need to do now, and how can I have the best balance, considering that's my goal? Any professional sport, guys, you're not going to have utter balance. That's hard news for you guys. No one's going to have that. You think you're going to be as good as LeBron James? You think LeBron James has a balance when he's playing the way he's playing? You think his whole life he didn't ignore parties and ignore friends and ignore bad scenarios that could potentially get him injured? Even when I was playing hockey and I was playing at a world level, when I was playing hockey, I wouldn't do anything outside of hockey because I was afraid of getting injured. I'd never go snowboarding, skiing, any risk that would take away from me getting better at hockey. I ate, hockey, gym. That's it, right? Anything else that took away from that, I didn't do, unless it made me better at hockey, right? So there's girls out there that are doing that for bikini. They're just doing bikini. I train, I eat right, I study the sport, I don't go crazy, I sleep good on the weekends, I'm not going out and going crazy at clubs. Like, I'm doing this and I'm being a robot to it, right? And you have to compete against that, right? So yeah, you don't have to be that girl, and I don't think that doing that girl is a great thing, but those girls are getting far, right? So where does it lie for you in the off season? I made this little chart here. I made this about a year and a half ago, but it came up again. Actually, no, 2 years now. It came up again because of these conversations, and I think it's important for everyone to look at. So let's go ahead and look at these charts here in what's in the off season. We're a good place to maintain, and I'm going to post this chart up here big so you can see it. And we're going to go into it here. So here we have 3 different scenarios. One is 6 to 8% body weight above stage weight. Now remember, the body weight above stage weight has a couple of disclaimers on it, right? Suggested maximum weight gains are based on stage weight not being dehydrated. Okay, so if you're cutting water for a show, that's not your weight we're going to go off of. We're going to go off of your hydrated weight What's really important is your true conditioning was reached, right? So if you're one of these girls that's like, oh, my last stage weight was 135 and now I'm gonna go 10% above that stage weight, but you weren't in shape the first time, well, I got news for you. You're not, if you're let's say an average competitor at 5'5" is gonna be about 120 on stage. That's pretty average. So if you're 135 on stage, you didn't hit your conditioning and you're 10% above that, well, you were already 15 pounds above stage weight where you should be or close to, and then you're 10% above that, that's another 13 pounds. So actually you're 23 pounds, or actually, I'm sorry, 28 and a half pounds above stage weight. In that scenario, that's not where you want to be. So you want to make sure your stage weight was reached before you use these numbers as your guideline. And the other thing to take into account is this is a short term. This does not take into account when, let's say you had a long off season and you gained 4 pounds of lean mass, right? So take that into account. If you gain muscle, that is going to change your overall weight and these percentages of weight. So I'm going off of total body weight, off of stage weight. And so if you have someone who just got done with a show, but they want to compete again in somewhere in an 8 to 12 week prep, I want them to be somewhere in that 6 to 8% above that. Now that's someone who just got off stage. They're already looking at another show 3-4 months from now. We're going to hit them somewhere about that 6 to 8% above target weight. We're going to try to lose about 1% a week, and that's going to be how many weeks they need to get ready for the next show. So if they have a show in, let's say, 12 weeks, we give them 6 weeks, kind of reversing, going through the proper post-show diet, get their weight is definitely going to go up a little bit. There's no way to maintain just that stage look all year, and then we'll lose 1% a week for 6 weeks going forward for that last 6 weeks of that prep. Now, let's say someone wants to do a show, maybe they did a show right now, and they're like, I want to do a show at the end of the year. Maybe I'll do nationals or something like that. 6 months from there, so we're going to go with that person a little bit higher, 8 to 12%. Now, that 8 to 12%, we're not just gaining freely that first 2 weeks. We're slowly reversing, going through the proper post-show diet, making sure they're not gaining a bunch of body fat in that off season, but we're also targeting the right areas of their physique, and we're looking at her last stage and saying, okay, you need to work on your glutes more, you need to look at your whatever more, your hamstrings, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on those in the gym. Now, she's going to be eating and gaining some weight, and hopefully with that extra target on those areas, she's going to actually grow some lean mass in those key areas during that time frame while her weight goes up. So hopefully you gain 8 to 12%, but hopefully only 7 or 11% of that is going to be body fat and 1% of that is pure lean mass, which would be great, right? That's the goal. Now let's say you're going to be longer than that. Let's say you're going to take a whole year off or so, getting ready for the next year. 10 to 13% above stage weight, I think, is a very realistic weight for you to maintain going into a longer off season. It's if you're in shape on stage and you're ripped as a bikini competitor, you're going to be somewhere in that 13% range, right? A lot of these girls get the wrong information, like, oh, I was 7% on stage, 6% body fat on stage. You were never 6% body fat on stage. I've seen the leanest, most shredded girls in the world get ready for the Arnold in women's physique, and I've only seen 2 of them in my entire career get under 10%. 2. High-level Arnold Classic women's physique. Okay, so bikini 13, 14%, some 15%, right? So that's about the real body fat percentage you're going to be. The true body fat percentage, not these crazy glamour numbers of, oh, I was 6%. I think some guys would be like, oh, I'm 3% body fat. I'll say, you were never 3%. Sorry, guys. Even Olympia level guys aren't getting to 2-3%. They're like, oh, I'm 2%. Like, no, you're not. So when we're talking about percentages here, we're talking about not body fat, we're talking about above stage weight. So if you're 120 pounds on stage, you looked awesome, you're gonna take a year to get ready for a show again, you gaining 12 pounds, you gaining 15 pounds, somewhere in that range, totally realistic for you to maintain and to be really healthy when doing it. That's the other argument that we run into all the time is like, oh, I don't wanna stay that lean because it's not healthy. What's unhealthy about you being 135 pounds, doing 20 minutes of cardio and eating a clean diet that's a healthy diet at a good calorie range, close to a little bit above maintenance calories or right at maintenance calories? What's unhealthy about that exactly? Nothing. You're just justifying your bad eating by saying watching your diet is unhealthy. I think we get so crazy with this unhealthy thing. We throw it around all the time. Oh, it's unhealthy for me. What's unhealthy about you eating healthy? Like, exactly. Please tell me, because that would be news to me. if you're unhealthy by eating healthy, if that's what caused it. Because as far as I know, all the heart problems, all the obesity issues, all the things that happen is from eating unhealthy. And that's why death rates have gone up, not from eating healthy. So let's be realistic about this. You're justifying your bad eating by saying it's unhealthy to stay lower in body fat. And I'm not saying stay shredded in body fat. I'm saying a realistic body fat amount in the off season for a female, maybe somewhere in that 18% body fat range, maybe somewhere in that 20% body fat range. I'm not saying be shredded, you can maintain that and be very, very healthy. So is the coach to blame for you? Are you making excuses? And you got to be real with yourself. Or are you, now we're in these categories and this conversation was pointless for you to hear, which is what I hope it is. I hope you look at this video and you're like, I don't even know why I just wasted 20 minutes watching that video. I don't do any of that. I've been eating clean and staying within those ranges the whole time. If you're that person, thank you. Sign up with me. Make my job easy. I appreciate it. Anyway, with that, I'll leave you with some self-reflection. Think about how you're going to advance in this industry. Think about if you're doing the proper steps, or think about, hey, I just got a shitty coach. I do. And you got to admit it to yourself. Why are they doing that to you so early? They're going to burn you out. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you're not working with someone like that. Anyway, if you are, TeamElitePhysique.com for worldwide online contest prep. Best prezo ever. Talk to you guys later.